I was still numb from the waist down when I found out my family had used my accident payout to remodel the kitchen. My name's Leah Rains. I'm 29 years old, a systems engineer living in Denver. Or at least I was. 2 months ago, I was rear-ended by a drunk driver while stopped at a red light. He was doing 60. I don't remember the impact. Just the screech, a bright white flash, and then waking up in a hospital bed with metal bars bracketing my legs like scaffolding. A nurse was adjusting my IV. My mouth was dry. My first words were, "Can I feel my legs?" The answer was no. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The surgeon said I was lucky to be alive. A fractured spine, 2 broken ribs, internal bruising, and a concussion that made light feel like fire. I was sedated for nearly 3 days. When I woke up, my mom hadn't even called. My little brother Brady? He'd texted once. "Heard he crashed." That sucks. Heal up. I lay in that sterile white room listening to the machines beep and the fluorescent lights hum. There were flowers from my coworker Tina and a card from my boss, but nothing from home. No one from my family came to sit by my bed or even ask what hospital I was in. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe they were overwhelmed. Maybe it hadn't sunk in. Maybe they thought I just needed rest. But deep down, I knew better. You see, I've always been the strong one, the fixer, the one who makes things work. I graduated early, got a job before I finished college, and started sending money home the first year I was hired. At first, it was small, help with the mortgage, groceries. Then it became monthly. Unspoken, automatic. My parents never asked where the money came from. They just knew it would show up. Meanwhile, Brady, who's 3 years younger, hasn't held a job longer than 4 months. He dropped out of college after 1 semester and spent most of his 20s getting high and finding himself in my parents' basement. When the hospital told me I'd be out of work for at least 6 months, my first instinct wasn't fear. It was guilt. Who's going to pay for Dad's medication? For Brady's car insurance? For the new roof they were supposed to fix this spring? Then, 4 days into my recovery, my best friend Jonah came to visit. He brought soup, real shampoo, and one of those dry erase calendars to help me track meds. While I was half awake, he offered to help check my mail and bills. "I know you hate falling behind on anything," he said, half joking. I gave him my login information. The next morning, he came back pale. "Leah," he said slowly, sitting on the edge of the bed, "I need you to stay calm." He showed me the bank statement on his phone. One line item stared back at me like a slap in the face. $87,000, home renovation deposit, Brightstone Remodeling Co. I blinked. "What the hell is that?" He scrolled. There were photos attached from the contractor's portal. A shiny new stove, quartz countertops, a marble island with pendant lights. Jonah whispered, "They used your settlement. The insurance check hit your joint account 3 days ago. It's almost all gone." My ears rang. I felt dizzy. No, they wouldn't. But I knew. I knew they would. Because to them, my value wasn't in who I was. It was what I could give. I FaceTimed my mom later that day. Her face lit up like nothing was wrong. Behind her, I could see the new cabinets being installed. White oak, soft close, high-end. "Oh, sweetie," she said brightly. "You're awake. Isn't the new kitchen gorgeous? We figured you'd want to come home to something cozy once you're out." I couldn't speak. My throat locked up. I watched Brady walk past the frame holding a PS5 controller and a smoothie. He looked straight into the camera and grinned. "Don't worry," he said. "We saved your old room. Thought about converting it into my studio, but Mom said we should wait until you're fully paralyzed or whatever." I hung up before I started crying. But later that night, Jonah texted me one thing. "You ready to take it back?" I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. Then I replied, "Yes, every damn penny." The worst part wasn't that they took the money. It was that they didn't even try to lie about it. After that call, I didn't sleep. I just laid there staring at the thin crack on the ceiling tile above my bed counting every single thing I'd paid for in that house since I was 22. The new washer when the old one flooded. The HVAC upgrade that Dad said was an investment for the family. Mom's crown implants. Brady's rehab. Twice. I'd told myself I was being helpful, being a good daughter, being loyal. But the truth was simpler and far uglier. I was being used. I always had been. The next morning, my nurse wheeled me outside for some sun. It was cloudy and cold, but I needed to breathe something besides hospital air. I sat under a half-dead elm tree, and Jonah came by again, this time with a big folder in his hand. "I pulled more statements," he said quietly. "They didn't just use the $87,000. There's another $13,000 gone, all within the last week. Furniture, a custom backsplash, and you're not gonna like this." He handed me his phone. Brady's TikTok was up again. There he was, grinning ear to ear in a neon hoodie, filming a before and after tour of the new Rains family kitchen. There was a drone shot of the backyard, a slow pan of the quartz counters, and even a cheesy voiceover. "When your sis finally gets hit by a car, but it comes with perks." I didn't cry. I couldn't. My face just froze. My hands trembled, but inside it was like everything went quiet. Still. "I'm gonna fix this," I said, not even sure who I was talking to. Jonah sat beside me, the way he always did when we were kids, back when his family lived next door and I'd climb into his treehouse to escape Sunday dinners at mine. "You don't have to do this alone," he said, and for the first time in days, I felt something besides shame. I felt steady. That afternoon, I called the insurance company. The settlement check had been sent to my parents' address, as I'd listed it on the policy years ago. But it was under my name, deposited into a joint account I had opened with Mom 5 years ago when she claimed she didn't understand online banking. I hadn't closed it. I never thought I needed to. Turns out I did. The rep's voice was calm but firm. "If you're the primary holder and the funds were used without your consent, you're within your rights to dispute. We can start a formal investigation today." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Do you want to freeze the account?" "Yes," I said. "Now." The next call was harder. I dialed my mom. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was sweet, like honey covering broken glass. "Hi, sweetie. How's therapy? We're making beef stew tonight, just like you used to love. You should see it. The new oven preheats so fast." "I froze the account," I said. "The insurance company's investigating." Silence. Then, "Leah, that money was a blessing. For all of us. Your dad's knees are giving out. We've waited years to make this house livable again. You'll benefit too." "I might never walk again, Mom." She didn't reply. Not really. Just a sigh. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We already spent it." I hung up before she could finish. Later that night, Jonah was helping me sort through a box of old paperwork when he paused and pulled out a small sealed envelope with my name in Mom's handwriting. It was dated 3 weeks before the accident. Inside was a printout, a home renovation contract, signed by my mom, with my name forged at the bottom. That's when I realized they didn't just spend my money because I got hurt. They'd planned to take it long before I ever hit that intersection. By the time I saw the forged signature, something inside me broke. Quietly, without drama. Like a bone that had been cracked for years but finally gave way. I sat there, holding the paper like it might turn into dust. It had my name, my handwriting, my signature. Except it wasn't mine. It was a version of it, copied from old birthday cards or maybe a rental agreement I'd sent them once. The contractor's stamp was legit. The date was nearly a month before my accident. They hadn't used my tragedy as an excuse to take the money. They were planning to take it anyway. Jonah looked at me, his face hard, jaw clenched. "They were counting on you not noticing." I nodded slowly. Or counting on me not surviving long enough to care. That part sat heavy in the air. The next few days, I kept busy. Not physically. I still couldn't move much beyond the waist. But mentally, I was sharper than I'd been in years. Revenge wasn't my goal. I wasn't out to destroy them. I just wanted my life back, piece by piece. I worked with the bank to revoke power on all joint accounts, transferred my direct deposits to a new bank entirely. I canceled the family's streaming services they'd been running off my name for years. Netflix, HBO, even the Amazon Prime that my mom swore she only used for emergency household supplies. I called the auto insurance and found out I was still listed as the primary on both the SUV Dad drove and Brady's new hybrid. "You can remove yourself anytime," the rep told me. "Good," I said. "Then remove me and report any upcoming charges to my attorney." That was a lie. I didn't have one. But the tone did the job. Every phone call felt like pulling a needle out of my own skin, one at a time. Slow, but freeing. Jonah stayed with me most days, brought homemade soup in reused jars, stayed quiet when I needed silence, talked when I couldn't take another second of my own thoughts. One night, I told him the worst part. "It's not the money," I whispered, my voice rough. "It's that they didn't think I was worth telling the truth. Not even a warning. Just used me. Like a resource." He didn't say anything, just reached over and held my hand. And maybe that's what kept me from collapsing again. A week later, I got a text. Unknown number. Just one sentence. "You need to come home. It's urgent." I knew that tone. That manipulative, vague urgency. It was my mom's signature move. Make it sound like someone's dying, then guilt me into submission. I ignored it. Then came another text, this time from Brady. "It's about Grandma. You need to come, or at least call." My stomach twisted. Grandma May was my dad's mom, the only one in the whole family who'd ever been solid with me. She used to send me handwritten letters every birthday, even after her arthritis got bad. She once mailed me a check for $200 after I graduated college with a note that read, "Don't give this to your parents. Buy yourself something ridiculous." I called the number. Mom picked up. She didn't even say hello. "Grandma's in the hospital. Heart failure. It's serious." I asked what hospital. She gave me the name, the room number. Her voice cracked just enough to sound believable. I didn't hesitate. I told Jonah to drive. The hospital was in Evergreen, about an hour away. The air got thinner the higher we climbed into the mountains. My chest got tighter. When we arrived, I wheeled myself in, asked for May Rains. The nurse at the desk looked up the name. She frowned. "There's no one by that name here. Are you sure you've got the right facility?" I felt cold creep up the back of my neck. I called Mom again. No answer. Called Brady. Straight to voicemail. Jonah took out his phone and opened TikTok. The top video on Brady's feed showed him on the couch, eating takeout, laughing. The caption read, "Sis is off chasing ghosts while we're vibing in the new kitchen." That's when it hit me. There was no emergency. No hospital. They had used Grandma's name to lure me back. The moment I saw that TikTok, something inside me went colder than the mountain air outside. Brady was lounging on the new sectional, chopsticks in hand, dipping dumplings into soy sauce like it was just another Tuesday. The same hands that forged my name on a contract. The same house built on my trauma. The caption? "Sis is off chasing ghosts while we're vibing in the new kitchen." I just stared at the screen, frozen. I wasn't even angry. Not yet. It was something deeper than anger. This sharp, surgical clarity, like my brain had finally stopped making excuses for people who never gave a damn. Jonah drove us back in silence. I watched the trees blur by through the window, each one reminding me of every moment I'd put them first. Every time I paid a bill instead of taking a trip. Every time I loaned them money I never got back. Every time I swallowed my voice because keeping peace felt more important than being respected. But not anymore. That night, back in my apartment, I started making calls. Serious calls. I called the bank and asked for a fraud report on the forged signature. I requested transaction receipts and flagged every charge they made while I was in the hospital. I called the contractor and requested a signed copy of the work order. He emailed it within the hour, complete with the fake signature and scanned ID they used. Except that ID? It wasn't just a copy of mine. It was mine. My actual ID. The one I thought I lost last fall during Thanksgiving weekend when I visited home, and Mom said I must have left it in an Uber. I felt sick. They hadn't just stolen my money. They'd stolen my identity. Jonah looked up from his laptop, eyes wide. Leah, this isn't just a family betrayal. This is criminal. You need to get a lawyer. Now. The next morning, I filed a formal police report. Fraud. Forgery. Identity theft. I brought the forged documents, my ID photos, and the email trail. The officer didn't blink. This happens more than people think, especially with families. We'll open a case. I asked him one question before leaving. If charges are filed, can they contest it by saying I would have given them permission if I was conscious? He shook his head. Intentions don't override the law. Signatures matter, especially forged ones. They'll have to prove consent, and that's not easy. That night, I slept harder than I had in weeks, and the next day, I took it a step further. I called the airline using the ticket confirmation Mom accidentally forwarded me weeks ago. She thought she was sharing a recipe. Instead, she gave me the booking number for a family trip they'd planned to Cancun, scheduled for the following weekend. Booked under my old corporate travel points. I stared at the confirmation email. 3 round-trip tickets, business class, beachside resort, spa package. I called the airline. Yes, I'd like to cancel the entire itinerary, I said, trying not to laugh. May I ask the reason for the cancellation? The rep asked. Fraudulent use. Booked without my consent using a corporate account that's now closed. I paused. And I'd like the refund issued to my new account on file. The refund cleared by 6 p.m. That night, I made one final call to the credit card company. I'd like to remove 3 authorized users from my account, I said. Mom, Dad, Brady, gone in 60 seconds. I didn't send them a warning, no explanations, no passive-aggressive messages, just silence. Let them figure it out. But the real twist came the following morning. I was brushing my teeth, trying with limited mobility, when Jonah knocked on my bathroom door, phone in hand. You need to see this. It was a screenshot from a real estate website. Mom had listed the house. Fully renovated, brand new kitchen, finished basement, move-in ready. The asking price? $849,000, and in the seller description, right there in black and white, lovingly remodeled with family support. Seller relocating to enjoy early retirement. They weren't just enjoying my money. They were planning to cash out on it. I stared at the real estate listing for a long time. The image of my family's house freshly painted in fake promise. The kitchen gleamed in those wide-angle shots, like some shiny redemption story. Lovingly remodeled with family support. The description read, the same kitchen they built off my hospital bed, off my broken spine, off my silence. They weren't just leaving. They were trying to walk away clean. It was 6:42 a.m. when I forwarded the listing to the detective assigned to my case. I didn't need to ask if it mattered. He called me before 9. Leah, this confirms financial gain from forged assets, he said, and we just got your handwriting analysis back. Clearly not your signature on the work contract. We're moving forward with charges. They'll be notified by end of day. I should have felt triumphant, but all I felt was stillness, the kind that comes right before a long exhale. That afternoon, I packed a small bag with Jonah's help. Not to run, but to return. Just once. I needed closure. Not revenge, not screaming matches. Just a full stop at the end of a sentence that had dragged on for way too many chapters. The front door was unlocked when we arrived. Of course it was. That house never had boundaries. I rolled through the hallway, the wheels of my chair gliding across the new hardwood floors I'd never asked for. Mom was in the dining room, folding linens. Dad stood by the window, sipping coffee like he was the goddamn king of Tuscany. Brady was half asleep on the couch, one sock on, watching YouTube clips on the flat screen I probably paid for. When they saw me, no one said anything at first. Not even a hello. Just stiffened backs, like they'd been caught mid-lie. Mom finally broke the silence. "Leah, you didn't call." "I didn't need to," I said. "The police already did." Brady sat up. "What are you talking about?" "Forgery, identity theft, financial abuse. Take your pick," I replied, my voice steady. "They're all being filed today. And the house sale? On hold. Effective immediately." Dad set his mug down. "Too hard." "This is your family you're talking about. You'd do this to your own blood?" I looked him straight in the eye. "You did this. I'm just correcting the paperwork." Brady stood up, face red. "You're ruining our lives." "No," I cut in. "You did that when you used my accident as a payday." Mom walked toward me, trembling. Her voice cracked. "I didn't know how to ask for help. We thought you'd understand. You've always helped us." "I helped because I loved you," I said. "Not because I signed up to be your safety net for life." Silence. I handed them each a letter. Printed, signed, notarized. My lawyer's work. In it, a clear notice of financial separation, a restraining clause preventing them from accessing any accounts in my name, and an official declaration to vacate any joint ownership claims. Brady laughed, bitter and small. "So you're just cutting us off?" I looked around the room, at the marble counters, the custom bar stools, the family photo from last Christmas where I was the only one holding a dish towel. "Number, I'm setting you free. You've always wanted your own way. Now you've got it." I left without looking back. 3 weeks later, they were formally charged. The sale collapsed. Their names are on record. The police didn't cuff them, but the shame was public. Brady's TikTok was deleted. Dad retired early. Mom closed her Facebook. I moved in with Eleanor, the older woman I'd met during rehab, who offered me her basement apartment for next to nothing. It has bad lighting and thin walls, but it's quiet and honest. Jonah brings over groceries on Sundays. I cook now, just for myself. I walk short distances again, with a cane, but I don't need it as much as I thought I would. You know, I used to think helping people meant giving until it hurt. But I've learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can give is a clear no. If you're still reading, thank you. If any part of this felt familiar to you, if you've ever been the dependable one, the strong one, the ATM in someone else's crisis, I hope you find the strength to protect your peace too. I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if this hit home, maybe stick around. There's more to share, and honestly, some stories are easier to carry when we don't carry them alone.